a mango slaw that is absolutely delicious. All right, the dressing for the slaw. This is super easy. We have a little bit of honey, a couple tablespoons of honey, just best honey that you could find, local if you could find it, because then it's good for you too. About a half teaspoon of celery seed. Toasted cumin seed would also be nice in here. You could use your palate to be your judge. I have 2 limes that have been sitting out at room temp, which I always like to do with citrus because then you get more juice. I'm not a man of fancy tools. I stick them in between my tongs, give it a squeeze, and you get all the juice out. One less thing to clean. Usually with vinaigrettes, I go 2 parts fat, 1 part acid. In this situation, you're gonna put in equal parts of olive oil. You're gonna give this a little whiskey whisk. A little bit of cracked black pepper and salt is gonna go in there also. Dressing is done. Now, this may not seem like a lot of dressing for the amount of slaw that we're making, but the slaw, once we put it in the dressing, it's gonna start releasing its liquid and give us more dressing. So we don't wanna put too much in. Now I'm gonna start cutting up stuff. Scallions, I had 3 scallions, small bunch of cilantro. I am a fan of things being a little bit spicy, so I'm gonna use jalapeno. I'm gonna leave the seeds and ribs in. So when you see this, it's basically equal parts of all 3, scallion, cilantro, and jalapeno. These are gonna go into our dressing, and they're just gonna start infusing some of that flavor as we get everything else cut up. I'm gonna peel and grate the carrots. All right, carrots are peeled. We get these grated. You could certainly slice these by hand, but I think this is the easiest way to do it. So now we have our carrots, our cilantro, our scallion, our jalapeno. I'm gonna peel my mango. Once this is peeled and sliced, it's basically starts losing flavor. So now mangoes have that big pit, so I just kind of go down the side. There we go. We are going to just cut this into slices, try to get them as uniform as we can, and this will go into our slaw. The other thing, too, as we put these into our slaw, they start to release some of their juices, which is gonna give our slaw dressing more flavor. If you buy them pre-cut, the chances of them being quite as juicy starts to dwindle a little bit. All right, so last thing I gotta do is I'm just gonna start slicing up this cabbage, and I'm just gonna put the cabbage in there with it, and then I'm just gonna mix this up together.
Colors. This is incredible.
And slaw? What do you like about it?
I could just eat a big bowl of it.
I'm giving the people what they want and making giant, juicy pulled pork sandwiches piled high with charred broccoli slaw all onto a pretzel bun. To start, I've got 3 pounds of boneless pork shoulder here that I'm seasoning all over with salt. And I've cut this into 3-inch pieces. It'll make it easier to pull and it'll cook quicker. And I'll sear it right in my pressure cooker, so it's a one-pot wonder. I'll get a couple of tablespoons of oil in here. Don't skip this step, it is crucial for flavor. I have this on the high saute setting so that I can really get that great color. So this searing really bumps up the flavor of the meat. I'll sear this in batches. I don't want to overcrowd the pan. All right, I'll get these out and continue on with my braising liquid. I'll toss in a chopped red onion with a little salt and saute until it's soft. I'll get my spice blend in now, which is a mixture of cayenne, paprika, garlic, and cumin, and I'll allow my spices to toast in with the onion. I'm smelling that cumin. Once I can really smell the spices, I know they've toasted, I'll pour in 1 cup of low-sodium chicken stock. I'll sweeten this with a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and then brighten it up with 1/2 cup of apple cider vinegar. Ketchup. I'll add a 1/2 cup of ketchup. This will also help kind of thicken the sauce as well. And 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce will add saltiness and delicious depth. I'll nestle my pork back in. And as this pork cooks, it'll get fall apart tender as it absorbs all of these delicious flavors. I'll get the lid on. I'll pressure cook this on high for 50 minutes while I make my broccoli slaw. See you later. I'm starting with 2 heads of broccoli that I've chopped into florets. I'm tossing this with 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and I'll season with a good pinch of salt. I'll toss this together and spread it out all over my sheet pan, and I'll roast this at 475 for 12 to 15 minutes until it's charred. And then while that goes, I'll make my dressing. I've got some buttermilk for tang and mayonnaise. I'll start with half a cup and then a quarter cup of buttermilk, which will thin it out and add that delicious sourness. A splash of apple cider vinegar for acidity, a little honey for sweetness, and some garlic powder. I'll season with salt and pepper. Give this a whisk. I'll pile in my fresh veggies. I've got a jalapeno, shredded carrot, thinly sliced onion, and pineapple. It'll add that hit of sweetness. I'll get my broccoli. Oh yeah, that's good and crisp. I like roasting broccoli for this slaw as opposed to doing raw florets because it softens it a little. It'll eat better with the pork. I'll toss this all together. All right, this looks so good. I can't wait to put these sandwiches together. I am up to my arms in pork for some hearty harvest lunches. My broccoli slaw is ready to go, and now all I need to do is put together my sandwiches. The juices are still in the pressure cooker. I'm gonna reduce them so that they can get thick and saucy. And to do that, I just hit saute. That'll go for about 15 to 20 minutes, and in that time, I'll shred up my pork. I barely have to do anything because it's so soft. I have a couple of toasted pretzel buns here. To assemble my sandwiches, I'll start with a pile of slaw, a pile of meat. Oh yeah. And I'll get some of that reduced sauce. This will be like the glue that holds everything together. Give it a smash to bring it all together. Look at you. Oh yeah. It's sweet, it's salty, it's juicy. That crunch from the pineapple and the broccoli is doing it for me.
I'm making my grilled fish tacos with papaya slaw.
Ooh,
Very nice fresco.
I do this all the time for my kids. They love tacos, and this is a great way to get people to eat fish. Let's start with the basics. The fish, very fresh. Always get the freshest, the freshest, the freshest.
Yeah.
And I want to make them the same. When we fish cookery, you want everything the same. So I try to get the smallest, these are snapper, the smallest ones I can, just because it's easier to cook and it's very quick cook. I want to hold that up. That is a slightly
this.
underripe papaya. And we have this really fancy device that makes nice little juliennes on it. So
How much julienne would you like?
I would like, you know,
About a cup?
or so. I get
Okay.
some cabbage, I got some daikon, and I have a little salt and pepper, right? And once you get that in there, we're gonna toss it. And then I'm gonna get this on the fire. So a very simple spice mixture, easy. Chili powder, coriander. One of my favorite spices ever, cumin. Paprika for you.
Yes.
Garlic
I'll
powder
take
for
it.
you.
I'll take it.
Salt, because you have to have salt.
Billy Bowles.
Chef,
Yes.
more? That looks about half a cup.
I think that's good.
Yeah?
Thank you.
I would do a little more.
I would
That's good.
too.
GC, can I ask if
Yes.
you didn't have access to a papaya, what would you suggest?
Mango. But you know, it's a texture thing because that really doesn't taste like a lot. It's really the dressing. You can pop that in. Okay, so would you put some of these Thai bird chilies in there?
Yeah, no problem.
And a vinaigrette that has like quite a few ingredients. I had to write it down. Jalapeno, garlic, lime juice, fish sauce, brown sugar, water, lime zest, and salt.
Well, hey, you
It's
know
a
what?
lot.
It's a lot
okay,
to
GZ.
remember.
And you can
It's
put that
okay.
in there and just
Yes.
toss it for me gently, and then
go
we're ready to go. Let it sit, right? Put it in the fridge if you want. Now, I'm really being liberal with these spices because it's all about the flavor of getting that real spice into the fish and having that nice char. You just flake it with your fork, and it's very easy to serve.
I like the little touch that you're not touching the fish, but you're flipping it over with a fork so you don't get the fishy hands.
Yeah, cross
Okay, so I'm gonna get a little cannoli.
a little ganol.
Little ganol on a hot, you can do a griddle or the other side, the grill. I like a griddle, just me. I like to get a real nice sear, and it's hard to do on the grill side. And then we're gonna make a little other sauce, and I wanna caution you, you can make this as hot as you want. It's a little Mexican crema, a little, our favorite.
Chipotle?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Be careful, this is like, this is enough for a lifetime of tacos,
Truly
almost,
is.
right? So just a little touch there. And a little bit of hot sauce as well.
Oh, wow.
We have our fish. Look how beautiful, how easy.
I
What was
can't wait
that?
for you to flip it, Jeffers.
I mean, that's like very easy. A nice char, right? Look at that. You want that char.
Beautiful.
And then what I'm gonna do at this point is shut it off. Shut it down.
Shut it
Shut it
down,
down.
GZ.
Plenty of heat here, carry over galore, as I like to say. Okay, you're gonna help me plate that. How was the taste of that?
Delicious.
Okay.
A little nice spicy
We have a
kick.
crema, and then at this point, it's just like, let's warm the tacos up a bit. And like, I have them already done here. I've griddled them. And I'm just gonna throw them over here just to get a little extra heat,
Ooh, a little
right?
shot.
A little shot.
I like that you're using those little street taco size tortillas.
For me, I mean, it's tacos. A lot of people think they're sandwiches. They put too much stuff in them. They're little bites, right? It's so important to like get the texture right, but also get the amount right.
Question: Are those are flour tortillas, correct? Not
Flour
corn?
tortillas.
I like flour with fish tacos.
So do I.
I do too, and blue corn with meat. Just a little.
Yeah.
That's for me. So I'm just gonna take a look at this. If you can see, it's done.
That's
It's
it.
done. That's it.
Amazing. RTC.
And it's beautiful.
And it's beautiful. And so, believe it or not, there's actually carryover cooking on the fish. So you gotta be very careful. And I'm gonna hit it with just a touch of this, which is lime. Okay? And then
Okay.
it's just building, right? What I like to do is put the avocado on the bottom.
Yes.
Wow.
And I've already salted this and put lime on it.
Okay.
Word. And I'm gonna take a little piece of this. Look at that feathery bit. Just that's
Don't be
enough.
cheap.
Perfect.
Don't
Not
be
too
cheap,
much.
Geoffrey.
all you
No,
need.
not too much.
I
It's
know
a
the
taco.
portions are small in Florida,
And then
but
we're gonna put, no, they're not. Little onion and some of this slaw. Okay.
more slaw, please.
Florida man.
Okay. Well, it's not gonna get in your mouth.
Yeah, I know, but I want more.
Okay.
It's not enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And I have a little crema. Would you like some crema?
Ooh la la. Yeah, I want it all. I want the works.
This is.
At
This
the
is
Zakarian
very-
taco bar, I want the works.
Okay.
This
then-
is a beautiful taco.
come
It's
on
a
the
beautiful
first bite there.
tailgating meal.
Go.
Very interesting. You just put the taco directly in
This
the
is-
plastic
I
basket.
feel this is kind of
I
sacred.
feel
Where
very.
is the parchment?
I'm like seizing up my whole existence.
Yes.
Isn't that beautiful?
There's a lifetime of putting sandwiches into
No, why waste
baskets
paper?
with
I,
paper.
I almost don't want to eat it,
Less
but
trash.
now I'm ignoring that thought. Look at that.
Oh, look
at
at
that.
that.
Wow.
What
Stop
a bite.
Look at
What
that
a bite.
overhang.
You better take
Oh.
down half that taco.
That's a crema
Hold on.
cascade.
I'm like organizing.
There it is.
Jeff.
This is sublime. First of all, the crust from the spices on the fish is a texture. It's a mood, it's a texture. The slaw is bright. There's so much acid in here. There's so many crunches, the creamy avocado. This is so balanced. Geoffrey, I want 5 of these.
Pork and apples go hand in hand. So I am getting started on my pulled pork sliders with an apple slaw on top. So I'm gonna season both sides of my house seasoning. That is salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and paprika. And to this pot right here, I have 2 large onions that I have quartered, and that's going to sit at the bottom. And so once these juices from the pork shoulder kind of drip out as it cooks, the onions are gonna sit in those juices, and that's gonna be a part of the slider. I need to wash my hands before I make my braising liquid. All right, so I have my braising liquid here, a little apple cider, and chicken stock. Pork shoulder, apples, slaw, screams the fall. So I am going to heat this up a little bit, get that braising liquid bubbling. And while that does that, I am going to make my apple slaw to go along with those pork sliders. I have some matchstick carrots here, some cabbages, Tuscan kale, and of course, beautiful apples. So I'm just gonna tuck it in tightly, and I'm gonna julienne, cut in thin strips. Okay, I'm gonna now cut my cabbage. I have green and purple cabbage. And I'm just mixing it up for a little color. I have 2 apples here. Of course, I'm gonna cut around the core, and I'm going to leave the skin on for a little texture. You wanna slice that in half and just slice really tiny. Little matchstick, see? Just like the carrots. So I'm adding apples to this slaw because it's gonna add a little bit of sweetness and texture. I am going to add my carrots to the bowl as well. So that's carrots, cabbage, apples, and some kale. Now I'm gonna make a simple dressing for this slaw. So I've got some mayo, a little Dijon mustard, bringing in some of that mustard flavor from the pork shoulder, a little apple cider vinegar. It's all about the apples today. And this is gonna be a tangy and a little sweet slaw. The sweetness is gonna come from the natural sweetness of the apples. A little salt and pepper. And a little honey to balance out the acidity from the vinegar. There we go. Now I'm gonna pour my dressing. Give it one more mix. All right, so that's mixed up. I'll put that to the side. I'm gonna cover this and let it sit in the oven. It's on 300 for a few hours. You know, the longer this cooks, the softer it gets and the easier it pulls apart. My pork shoulder has been in the oven for a few hours now. Because I've been cooking it low and slow, it's shredding like butter. And the pork is gonna soak up all of those juices. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna turn my heat off and build my sliders. I have some toasted pretzel buns here, and I've buttered them as well. I'm gonna put my pulled pork shoulder at the bottom on that buttered bun, and it's gonna soak up all of this braising liquid. Take some of that slaw and put it right on top. Close it off and give it a bite. Wow. That pulled pork literally melts in your mouth. And then the slaw on top, it's a little sweet and it's a little tangy. And then the pretzel bun is just the perfect vehicle for this goodness.
Next, a quick red cabbage slaw for a cool, crisp side. It's thinly sliced red cabbage, carrot, and red onion tossed with celery seed and golden raisins and dressed with vinegar and oil. There's no mayo in this slaw, so it's good to go. Now, the good thing about this recipe and about this date meal, like I said, is you can take it outdoors. We're gonna make a slaw without mayo. We're gonna kick it off with some apple cider vinegar. That's gonna hold it all together, make it nice and juicy for us, and also break down the slaw so it's nice and tender when we bite into it. All right, so I'm gonna get that started. I really do love this recipe. It's got so many great elements to it. I'm gonna get my celery seeds and my sugar. It's gonna go in. It's sweet, it's tangy. I really do love sweet, you know? I mean, it's hard to get sweet into your savory dishes, but when you can, man, is it a payoff. All right, so my apple cider vinegar goes in. About a half a cup of this. All right, a little bit more, because the dressing is really gonna help break everything down. So we've got the sugar going in right there. And then I'm gonna put my celery seeds in. This really helps turn it into a slaw. The flavor these celery seeds impart, it's fragrant, brings it really alive. I love anything that has celery attached to it, the root, the stalk. I love celery seeds. All right, we're gonna put that in there, and I'm gonna whisk in a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and some olive oil. That chicken's looking good over there. All right, just whisk in a little olive oil here. Work it all together. And then I'm gonna start getting the veggies ready for this slaw. The first thing we're gonna do is some red cabbage, which is so good for slaws outdoors. It's super crisp, so it takes a long time for the acid to break it down and make it wilty. That's looking good right there. And when you go to the store and you get your red cabbage, make sure it's heavy. That means it's got a lot of water in it and it's not dry and this bottom part isn't cracked, okay? So I've got my carrots, my red cabbage, my red onion. I'm gonna break these down and get them ready for our slaw. All right, all the veggies are into our slaw. Now I'm gonna add some golden raisins, and it's complete with just a little toss. Love golden raisins in this because, you know, they stick out. Why put the regular raisins in? They'll disappear, you won't be able to see them. Plus, these are light, and plump, and juicy, flavorful. Great addition to our outdoors or indoor slaw. All right, toss that a little bit right there. Look at that. Just get the juices in there so it'll get nice and tender for you.
That looks so good.
I am a total sucker for any food that rhymes, which is why I love these falafel waffles. They're crispy on the outside, and I'm gonna top it with a really crunchy slaw. So I'm starting by making my falafel mixture. I would just pile everything into a food processor. 1 yellow onion, coarsely chopped, and then the main ingredient of falafel, beans. This is 1 3/4 cup of dried chickpeas that have been soaked overnight. 1 egg, 3 cloves of garlic, and then I like a super herby falafel, so I'm adding 1 cup each of fresh parsley and fresh cilantro, and they make them pretty and green. For my spices, 1½ teaspoons each of ground coriander and ground cumin. I like to add a touch of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. I'll zest in this lemon. And then I'll also squeeze in 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. So about the juice of half a lemon. So this will add more brightness, and it's also gonna react with some baking soda to help make the inside of the falafel fluffy. I can hear it fizzing as it reacts with the lemon juice. 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour will bind these together so that the waffles don't fall apart. And then I'll season with 2 teaspoons of kosher salt. Okay, this looks great. First thing I'm gonna do is grease the waffle iron pretty well with my spray. It'll also help with the crispiness. And then I'm gonna use a scant 1 cup of mixture. I'll spread out this mixture almost to the edges, press it down, and allow this to cook for about 5 minutes. I'm smelling those spices toasting. This looks crispy, ready to come off the waffle iron. It smells delicious. I'm putting this onto a wire rack so that the bottom can stay crispy, it won't get soggy, and it's important to re-oil the waffle iron before making another one. Awesome. I can't wait to eat these. But first I've got to make a colorful, crunchy slaw to go on top. So while I do that, I'll keep these in a warm oven. I'll start with the dressing. 1/4 cup of whole milk Greek yogurt, 6 tablespoons of tahini, which is a smooth sesame paste, 3 tablespoons of olive oil to bring a little more richness, 2 tablespoons of honey for a hint of sweetness, a bunch of lemon juice to brighten it up, 2 teaspoons of cumin, a pinch of cayenne, and I'll season with kosher salt. I'll whisk until it's smooth. And then I'm going to toss my veggies in this dressing, but first I want to remove some of it so that I can drizzle some on separately to make the waffles extra saucy. Okay, and grab my veggies. I've got a rainbow here, some sliced red cabbage. Oh, it's so good and crunchy. 1 carrot, 3 radishes thinly sliced, and half a red onion. This rainbow needs some greenery. I'll coarsely chop up some cilantro and parsley. Okay, I'll toss this all together. The waffle smell is haunting me. I can't take it any longer. Ready for the waffles. Hello. They smell awesome. Okay, get this onto a plate. I'll pile on some slaw. I'll drizzle on some sauce, extra creamy richness. Take some herbs on top. Nestle in a lemon wedge, and finish with a sprinkle of flaky salt. That's a waffle. I'm gonna dig in. Squeeze it with lemon, shove on some slaw. Here I go. Holy buckets.
Spicy fried chicken sandwich is a great portable thing to take anywhere you're going. This is gonna be just the thing. I'll make the breading for the chicken first. I started with some flour, and this is such a savory chicken sandwich that a little bit of brown sugar is actually a really nice thing to add into the breading. It's spicy fried chicken, and that's where the cayenne pepper comes in. The breading needs plenty of salt and plenty of pepper. Okay, that's the dry mixture. And for the wet, it's nothing more than buttermilk. I'm just making a little assembly line. Now I've got 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts, and I'll dredge them in the flour first, one at a time, and shake off the excess, dip it in the buttermilk, and then back into the flour mixture. I want the chicken to have a nice, crispy breading, and this is a good way to get it on there nice and thick. Put it into a pan with oil. While the chicken fries, I'm gonna make a really simple spread for each sandwich. It's nice and spicy, and it just has 2 ingredients. It's just mayo and as much hot sauce as I think Terry and Jerry can handle. Well, that was super easy. Now I'll move on to the slaw. Some sliced red cabbage. The color makes it so pretty. A thinly sliced jalapeno pepper, parsley leaves, a couple of tablespoons of pickle juice. After that, I'll toss it together. Oh, that is one nice spicy slaw, and it's so pretty. And the chicken is ready to come out of the skillet. It's just a beautiful, crispy, golden piece of fried chicken. Okay, turn the oil off. Grab the sauce, and I'll spoon a little bit of the sauce on each side of the bun. I wanted to do some pickles on this sandwich. I think fried chicken and pickles is such a great combo. Okay, one of the chicken breasts goes right on top of the pickles. Now I have a little bit of brown sugar in the breading, but for even more sweetness, I'm gonna drizzle on a little bit of honey. Last but not least, I'll pile on some slaw. I'm gonna see how much I can get on here without knocking over the sandwich. Oh gosh.
We're doing a tropical dish. It's the perfect pairing of pork and pineapple to make Hawaiian pulled pork sandwiches, okay?
Also, what you're saying is we're making a beach bite, Katie.
Yes, we are making a beach bite.
On
And
Cooking Channel,
This
one
is
day.
inspired by one of my beach bites in Hawaii. I went to a traditional pork roast, and they use a lot of flavors like this. So this is all inspired. I'm gonna have you help me. We've got our slow cookers out because that's the way to make things easy. So I've got a pork butt here. And this is a really great, inexpensive cut of meat. I'm just gonna make a little rub for it. So I've got some garlic powder, some onion powder, a little salt, and a little pepper. Just whisk those together.
Whisk us away, Katie.
Whisk us away. All right, Jeff, if you will season that up for me. And then I don't take the time to sear this. You know, a lot of times you sear a piece of meat before you put it into the slow cooker. I'm like, there's enough flavor going on. Let's just skip the step and put it straight in.
Yeah.
No liquid is added to it either.
What?
No, because there's so much in this that when it slow cooks, about 2 to 3 cups of liquid come out of it. And we're gonna use that to help make our broth.
This is awesome. I've never dry slow cooked a pork butt.
You don't even need to add anything to it. So Jeff, if you'll put it in our slow cooker, it's gonna cook for 8 hours on low. So this is a great thing to put on before you go to bed. And then in the morning, you can do the next step and then have it all.
That's awesome.
I don't know how you sleep with that.
All right,
cooking
go
in
wash
there.
up.
It smells so
It comes
good.
out like this after 8 hours. See that? It's pretty much done. And I'm just gonna pull it right out of here. It's falling apart tender.
Jeff, do you know why? I mean, we know it's the shoulder cut, but we call it the butt. Why do we call it the butt?
Because every region has, it's called a Boston butt, you have pork shoulder, pork roast, depending. But I think now the official term is pork shoulder, but it either comes from the haunches or the rear, which is essentially the same cut of meat at the end of the day. You can cook them the same, usually the same size. But, you know, just ask your butcher give me a pork, start with the pork shoulder and then
Go down to the butt?
if they call it the butt, order a butt.
So here's all of the broth that comes off of that while it cooks. Now you can see the fat on there. If you have a fat separator, I do recommend skimming that off.
Oh, wow, look at this.
Because there's a lot of fat in there, so I'm just gonna try to carefully pour.
And you want me to shred this here, right? Is this ready to
just
go,
shred
right?
it up with your forks. Oh, I'm just gonna keep it all in there. My grandma had a trick where she would let the broth cool down a little bit and then throw some ice cubes in it, and the fat goes right onto the ice cubes. You pull the ice cubes out, throw them away, and you've gotten rid of the fat.
Hack.
Yeah, it's a good hack.
Thank you.
All right, so into the broth, I'm adding an 8-ounce can of crushed pineapple. Give us some of that Hawaiian flavor. And then in Hawaii, they have a lot of influence from Asian countries. So Chinese barbecue sauce, hoisin. Hoisin sauce is great. You'll find this in the Asian aisle in the grocery store. It's got fermented soy in there. It's salty, it's tangy, it's sweet. Everything that you want in a barbecue sauce. And then we're gonna add to it some rice vinegar, 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons of honey, because we know every great barbecue sauce has sweet and tangy. And salty, so I've got some soy sauce to go in there as well.
Use ponzu instead of soy?
Yeah, you could. You can totally make this your own, you know?
A little citrusy.
Yeah.
You could even do this with a jar of regular barbecue sauce and just add your regular barbecue sauce instead, and then, you know, have the pineapple going, and you're still gonna get great Hawaiian flavors. All right, Jeff, if you will put that pork back in the slow cooker
Okay.
when you're done with it. Now, obviously, it doesn't take 3 slow cookers to get this done. I'm just showing you the 3 steps, you know,
So
magic
blessed here.
of television.
right.
We're lucky to have all these slow cookers.
Beautiful, nice and shredded in there, beautifully rendered.
So let's add our sauce back in. And then I like to put this on low for another hour, even 2 hours, and let it keep going. If you're having
Want my
people
hand,
over,
Sonny? You wanna lick the batter?
Are you offering for me to lick your hand?
you could just set it on warm and let it set for a long time. And it comes out like this.
2 more hours, right?
Hour to 2 hours, yeah. And then I've made a little slaw here. This is Napa cabbage that I cut really fine and just added a little rice vinegar, some sugar, and some celery seed and salt to it. And of course, I've got those Hawaiian buns.
Yes.
I love these.
Oh, nice and sweet and
Let's
soft
pile
and
it up.
pillowy. I love them.
Hawaii is a state that will catch you. A lot of people go down and they don't come back up.
You know, I loved it so much. I'd never been before until we went for Beach Bites.
Awesome.
And if I could figure out how to live in Maui, I would.
You could do it. You could do it.
Look at that.
Yeah. Look
Beautiful.
at that.
That's what I'm talking about. Jeff, you worked hard for this.
Oh, lay it on me. Look at
Take
that.
a bite of that.
That's a very good ratios, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know ratios.
I know ratio. I'm going in.
I always love a slow cooker meal for a crowd too. Everybody can serve themselves and it stays warm.
Drippage.
Drippage, no slippage. Tastage. That's great. That's a side dish right there. But you know what I love about this? Not only is the meat like super tender and still succulent and fatty in a perfect, you know, pulled pork way, but it's still like rustically pulled. You know what I mean? It's not shredded into like just like a sauce, you know, and it's not too sweet. And I taste all those, the complexity from the hoisin in there and the sweetness from the pineapple and the crunch you get from this fresh slaw. It is awesome. I am already on vacation. I'm not coming back. It did. Hawaii got me.
In Hawaii, delicious is ono.
Oh no.
So I always say, oh no, she didn't.
It's my catfish sandwich with a Chipotle-Lime slaw. Now what's gonna happen is I'm gonna get some flour over here on the first one. A little bit of flour. And check it out, some chili powder. And this is gonna be the beginning dredge. This is what's gonna stick to the fish. A little chili powder and a little black pepper. Okay, this is what's gonna have first contact with the fish. Secondly, a little whole grain mustard. And the whole grain mustard is gonna go with a little beer, a little nice rich beer. You get that really great mustard flavor. You get the richness of the beer. You get the tanginess of the mustard, the sweetness of the beer. All these things going on, killer. Watch this little trick. Right underneath the hand, boom, Yahtzee. Okay, there we go. A little dark beer in there on that. And then, to make this whole battering process go on, little panko breadcrumb here. Oh, good, I did have enough, okay? And these, a Japanese breadcrumb, really light, crunchy, holds onto the fish really well. Doesn't get soggy, doesn't get matted and cakey. Okay, some granulated garlic. Some paprika. Wow, that's some good looking color on that, huh? I always keep some fresh ground black pepper off to the side. Nice helping of that. Some salt, and there we are. All 3 are ready to go. Look at the color coming out in that. That'll really shine nice. Okay, so we get all this separated. The star of the show, these beautiful catfish fillets, nice and tender but firm, not overly fishy in their taste. I think they go great in gumbo, jambalaya. It's gonna work fantastic in the sandwich on this nice Cuban roll. I mean, it's gonna be quite the presentation. So we get this. Let me mix this up. Okay. Dredge this through here. Like that. Here's my tray. Now into the beer, so the flour sticks to the fish. Now we get some of that great beer flavor and that mustard sticking to the flour, and then boom, into the panko. over the top like that, and I did not do my wet hand, dry hand. So as my son Hunter would say, I am now going to have Hulk fingers. They'll start building up. That's all right, I'm only doing 4 fillets. And what I'm gonna do is set them on this rack and let them dry out a little bit. And what happens, that helps the breadcrumbs adhere. And you see I'm really packing it on there, okay? This is gonna let the breadcrumbs adhere better, so when I fry it up, it's gonna give this nice, crunchy, stick-to-it kind of batter. Nobody flaking and falling off in this. Okay, some onions, red onions, some green onions, some red bells, some nice cabbage, and all this is gonna go together for this fantastic slaw that's gonna go on top of these catfish fillets that I have dredged in basically everything I have in the fridge and in the pantry. All right, get all this stuff down. There we go. Now this is gonna be the delicious Chipotle-Lime slaw, and this is going to marinate in the fridge for a little bit. Let me get this out of the way. Oh, I gotta get a little bit of cilantro down in there as well. Let me just get a little piece of this out. Just a touch. Now, the Chipotle pepper, of course, plays a nice piece in this, and you know on GBB that I love my Chipotle peppers, but especially because when I'm thinking about being down in La Manzanilla, you know, my chill spot just kind of goes hand in hand. Okay, some mayo, some sour cream, and some Chipotles in adobo. Oh, one of my favorite things ever. I'm not kidding you. You know, at Chipotle, being a smoked jalapeno pepper, they had to have a way to preserve the pepper back in the day, so they would smoke it, they would dry it out. Well, then they reconstitute it by making this adobo, which is kind of like a spicy vinegar sauce made with tomatoes, and oh, it's so dynamite. I mean, it just goes hand in hand with all kinds of great Mexican or Southwestern food. So 1/2 cup of the sour cream in my precise measuring techniques here on GBB. Okay, let me get you a little salt, actually a little pepper, a little salt. Chipotles are a little small on this one, so I'm just gonna kind of use 2 on this one. Chop it up. Want to get as much of that sauce in there as I can. Okay, and as I said, that adobo's got the tomato sauce and vinegar, a little bit of salt in there to kind of reconstitute them and preserve them. Okay, so that's in. Now, here we go. Microplane, take the zester, get some of the lime zest in there. Not going down too far, just getting the top piece there, and then taking it and getting the juice. The juice by itself just doesn't say lime enough. Now, I'm gonna put some lime juice, and I'm gonna put some white vinegar. And why the white vinegar? Well, you know, the vinegar kind of gives that real distinctive flavor and says, I am slaw. And the lime juice has kind of the citrusy, acidic side to it. So, a couple tablespoons of that, and I think this will work out great. Okay, and before I go any farther, let me get a little bit of sugar in there too. Kind of bringing all the flavors together. Okay, so mix this up. Let this kind of hang out for a second, and then I'll pour it on top of that slaw mixture and pop that in the fridge. Cast iron skillet's ready to go, and we've only got about a 1/4 inch, a little bit more of oil in there, and these catfish fillets are ready to go downtown. Now, these are gonna go down, I'm only gonna put 2 in at a time. Even though the cast iron really retains heat well, this is great for doing fried chicken, by the way, I don't wanna put too much in at one time, have them steam each other and lose some of the spreading. So in, nice and easy. Look at that, about halfway up. And another one. That's a hearty portion of catfish, I may say. Okay, so we'll let that bubble over like that. Let's take a minute here and turn these over and see if they're ready to go. I don't want to mess with them a lot. Actually, I don't want to use tongs. I want to use some kind of a spatula and see if this is ready to go over. I really want to make sure that the crust, the crunch is really set up on that other side. So let me take a look here. All right, that bad boy's ready to go over for sure. There we go. And over on this one, nice golden brown. Look at that. Little Cuban roll, toasted it there with some butter. Actually grabbed some of this slaw, throw that right on top of this Chipotle-Lime slaw that I made. Fantastic. Let me grab a cuchillo, look at that thing. And what we're gonna, look at this. I just gotta check it out. I wanna see what it looks like from the side here. It's enough to feed 3 people, just one sandwich. Take a look at that. Let me get into a bite of this. Wow. Dynamite.
Just because it's a weeknight dinner doesn't mean it has to be boring. Nobody wants a boring dinner. My roasted salmon tacos are so delicious, and they're fun, and they're really easy to make. And they start with a rub for the salmon. So, first thing I have is about a teaspoon of lime zest. I think lime and salmon go really well together. And the next is 2 teaspoons of chipotle chili powder. And then, of course, we need salt. 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I actually love rubs because you know what? You put it right on the fish, goes right in the oven, and has so much flavor. Okay, next thing is the salmon. So I have 1 3/4 pounds of salmon. I actually have it in 1 piece. You can do it in steaks, but I think it stays moister in 1 piece. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna brush it with lime juice. And lime juice is not only gonna flavor it, but it's gonna make the rub stick to it. Just fresh lime juice. And then I'm just gonna sprinkle this right on. I think a spoon, just like that. Evenly sprinkle it on. Just think how much flavor this is gonna add. Most tacos are made with fried fish, which is not only a mess, but I think it's kind of better for you. And the nice thing about roasting this is all you have to do is throw it in the oven, set a timer, and forget about it. This goes into a 425-degree oven for about 12 to 15 minutes until it's just barely cooked. And at the same time, I want to heat up the tortillas. I'm going to put them right in the oven with the salmon, same temperature. So the next thing I need for my salmon tacos is mashed avocados. That's 4 avocados. I need some lime juice, about 2 tablespoons, and this gives it flavor, but also keeps them from turning brown. I use sriracha. I like the flavor of it. You can use as much or as little as you like. You want a little heat, but not too much. A teaspoon of salt, about a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, and I'm just gonna mash it up. It's a little like making guacamole, but it's not guacamole. Actually, don't over mash this. I like to be creamy and chunky both together. Okay, the last part is slaw. This is it, and it couldn't be simpler to make. I put 3/4 pound of shredded green cabbage into a bowl with half a seedless cucumber that I sliced thinly on a mandolin. Then poured over 1/4 cup of white wine vinegar, tossed in 3 tablespoons of minced fresh dill, sprinkled over some salt, pepper, and just mixed everything together. I think the salmon's ready. Absolutely perfect. How gorgeous does that look? And the tortillas are ready. Hot, which is exactly what they should be. Okay, I've got all the elements ready. Take a tortilla, nice warm one. Big dollop of mashed avocado on one side. Some flaked salmon, one sort of big piece of flaked salmon. Look how gorgeous that is. Put it right on top. Yum. Some of the slaw on the other side. And then I take a second one and do exactly the same thing. Okay, just a little bit of salt. Well, that's roasted salmon tacos. Not bad for a weeknight dinner.